Hi, I'm Brendan Watson. In this tutorial, what I'm going to be looking at is merging. Merging is something that learner drivers find particularly difficult, and there's a number of reasons why that's the case. Let's have a look at scenario number one up the top here. In this situation, we've got two lanes going to one, and we can see that the broken line here ends at this point. A is in front of B, so in this situation here, vehicle A can continue on ahead of B, and B would drop in behind, and in general terms, a 2-second gap following distance. Technically speaking, if A doesn't cross that broken line, they don't need to indicate. However, you will see quite a lot of drivers put the right signal on here to communicate to B their intentions. Let's have a look at scenario number two. In this case, we have two lanes going to one. We have vehicle A here and vehicle B here. This time, if A wants to cross this broken line and come into B's lane, A must give way in this situation and allow B to progress through if their speed is higher, or sometimes you'll see vehicle A will slow and allow A to come across. Either way, it's the responsibility of vehicle A to give way. Now this means that the driver in vehicle A needs to be checking not only mirrors, but also looking ahead as to what's coming up. Quite often these situations, especially if they're freeway, the speed will increase. So this might be a 60 zone going up to a 70 zone. That's one of the reasons why learner drivers often have difficulty, is because of the varying speed that you're actually powering up in the vehicle, monitoring what's happened in the lane on the right through the mirror, looking ahead, also monitoring the speed, gearing up, etc. So vehicle A must signal to the right, vehicle A must give way, and only move over when it's safe to do so. There needs to be plenty of space in these situations. Now, I live close to the city, and quite a lot of the time with merging, there's a lot of pushing in and that type of thing as well. And often learners get a little bit freaked out by that type of activity. The most important thing, if your learner is in vehicle A, is to stick to the rules and to make sure that they go through all their correct processes and do their very best they can to manage their space. Just because everybody else is doing something doesn't mean that they need to fall into that habit as well. Vehicle B, this driver does not need to slow. They're under no obligation at all. They can just follow their lane along here. A can drop in behind, or A might push up in front. Obviously, A cannot go over the speed limit to do so. This vehicle here, if I'm training someone who's in vehicle B, I'm encouraging them they're part of the road system. And the best way for the system to work effectively and safely is for drivers and other road users to be working in together. So if it just means easing off the accelerator slightly without putting any pressure on anyone behind or anything like that, that might be a proactive driving action that driver B could take to allow for the flow of the traffic. A should not assume that B is going to slow down and let them in, however. So there's quite a lot of coaching that needs to go on and a lot of practice on these. If you're a trainer or a supervisor, be very selective as to where you introduce this skill set. Start off on 60 zones, 70 zones, 80 zones, and then work up to freeways. Be very careful of where you choose to introduce this on the freeway. Some of them have a small lead in, some of them have quite a long lead in. So lots of practice, lots of different scenarios, and try and grade the complexity of the situation as you go up the scale of driver confidence and driver skill level.